During the NASA launch, you made the famous statement, tuko ndani, ndani kabisa. What happened? Because saizi hamko hata ndani kidogo ya NASA.
The point where you are a Secretary General and the chairman of a party, you think about growth. You see where KANU is at the moment. We have had our own rough time politically, and we don't want to have a repeat of the same. So you have to understand there had been a barrier between our accessing the presidency or them accessing us, and there was no communication. So if we are not communicating, we have to also chart our own course. And going to NASA, where I coined that tuko ndani ndani, meant to assure, wherever you are, make sure you're there. So I was not there to pretend. I was there, and I meant ndani, 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 ndani kabisa. But what changed after that was the events, the subsequent events of what happened. I said that immediately after my being to NASA, the First Lady of the Republic of Kenya, Mama Kenyatta, went to visit Mzee. And not long after that, we had another visit from the President to see Mzee Moi again, the second President of the Republic. And the pressure was, was on us and the party. So I would believe by meeting Mzee Moi, it is only obvious, this is an election year, that Mzee wapi mate ya hii mkondo wa mwisho kwake. So nafikiria mate ilihitajika na Mzee mwenyewe vile wamefanya kazi, their historical background.
And you talk about barrier. Who or what was the barrier?
There was no line of communication that was open, because you'd find many things were said about KANU by people who were KANU themselves. Luckily enough, we never had that from the president, the current president. So it could have been easier to deal with him. But I can assure you, moving forward, we are accepting to be in Jubilee for what it is worth. Everybody will have to talk and say, we will accept the whole package.
The decision by KANU to support President Uhuru's re-election was reached after a vote. You voted against it, but a majority supported Uhuru's re-election. Are you personally against Uhuru's re-election?
You can only say I am supporting because the majority carried the day, and being a Democrat, what do you expect? But I do say that given a chance, I think it's important that a few things don't remain the way they are. We have to, don't live in a bubble, We want to be real to what is happening to the ordinary mwananchi, and don't just talk and be so rhetorical about everything. Be practical and, and get, I hear they're saying things are getting done, but the common mwananchi needs the basics to be done. Yeah, you can give me a whole good railway from SGR from Mombasa to Nairobi, but if I cannot afford to be on it, it can only be, it's not going to help. You need to be able to have a system of government where growth is for everybody, not just for the top.
Is KANU still divided on this matter of supporting President Uhuru's re-election?
The division now is to some people who see that my supporting Uhuru will devalue them in the party, because they would look and say, oh, Salat is here, and wherever I am, I'm in Ndani. So they would have wanted me to say, okay, Salat, push him out or do that. But I read the statement. I'm going to live up to the statements. And so I'm hoping that going to support Uhuru, we'll also find people who are genuine, because we're still encountering resistance even when we're inside, even when we're still supporting Uhuru, and especially from people who are holding key positions within Jubilee Party. So we expect that Uhuru, who actually took the initiative to talk to us, will rain down on some of these people who are not who are believing that one vote doesn't count.
After saying Ndani, 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 you were ironically the one who read the KANU statement supporting Jubilee. How did you feel to retract that statement?
Well, my demeanor, and I made sure that the statement was brief and to the point. It gets to a point in politics, you know, it's never static. Yeah, where my position calls for me to make some decisions, even if it was not the decision that I stood for, but your position calls for you to read that statement, and I did, and I think I did a good job. I tried.
But how did you feel?
Don't ask me how I felt. I read it. See, you saw it. Yeah.
Kuna watu ulikutana nao wakwambia ulituangusha Muhesh.
I've had encounters, and I've had people not shaking my hand. I've had people saying you've let us down. I've had people who understood and who are Democrats or themselves and understood that yes, you meant well when you say Ndani, 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 you meant it, you know. And they still know that politics is never static. But I've had people also on this other side who are happy that I'm with them now. So that's the nature of politics. You lose some, you win some.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever regret making that statement?
Oh, I will never regret anything that has. My brother called me about last Friday. I don't know what he was doing, checking. He told me so far the hits on that Ndani Ndani, 1.8 million hits so far. We got to a point where the mother just said, "They're talking about Ndani Ndani." So I told them, "Say it." Yeah, because we went to a restaurant here in Westlands, and just the moment we walked in, the waiters just kept, everybody was just saying Ndani, 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 and my son and everybody's. I just told them, okay, join them. So what is join them? Yeah. So, yeah.
You are MP for Bomet for 5 years. Yes. Now Bomet senatorial race is promising to be a brazen battle between yourself and Jubilee's Professor Wilfred Lesan. Do you really stand a chance in elective politics?
I am ready to offer myself again for the Senate seat, and it doesn't matter, be it Professor Lesan or anybody else who is going to get the ticket of either Jubilee or CCM or any other party that will field a candidate for the Senate seat. I'm ready to seek the mandate of Bomet people to represent them in the Senate.
Your father was a good friend of Mzee Moi. It is known you're a good friend of Senator Gideon Moi. Can you survive politics without the Moi family?
My joining politics is because my dad was also a politician. He served for 3 terms in Parliament, and I joined politics because it's in my blood. When I went to university, I studied politics. And when I came, I've never been employed anywhere, in no formal employment. I immediately joined politics. I'm still in politics. I think, first and foremost, politics is something you have to rely on yourself.
And is politics addictive? Because we've seen right now, there's so many people who didn't make it into politics in 2013, now making a comeback.
It's a drug. And you know, a drug, if you take it too much, you know what it does. Okay? But if you take it in stride, you'll be composed and you'll be okay. But once you're in it, it's difficult to get out.
Let us talk about the hostile relationship between KANU and Deputy President William Ruto. What is the genesis of the political differences?
We never initiated the differences. Or if there is any differences between us and the Deputy President, it did not come from us. He was discussing KANU negatively. His tone was not a tone that was welcoming. It got to a point where there was just constant we were getting heat from every gathering he attended, and we felt it's not right.
What's your take on Rift Valley politics? Is the ground shifting from its base?
They need to work extra hard. In politics, the end game is either to carry your party to State House, carry your leader to State House. It is now the president, the deputy president's turn to do what he can to convince us that he's better than us. And he will, if he is better than us, then we will support. But he should also accept that there are others who will, just like he was ambitious enough to make it to where he is, there are also others who are not sitting back with their ambition. They want to challenge. And he should just challenge is acceptable and invitable.
Let us finish the way we started. Yes. Ndani, Ndani, Ndani. It's all over the place. Yeah. In political rallies, ringtones and all. Shouldn't this bring you some benefit as the original owner?
You have lawyers who are working on it. Lawyers, you know, they're always very eager to come in and give ideas. But I'm keen, I'm a politician, I'm keen that it serves you where you are. My bishop calls me right when it was now just beginning to trend. And he called me and said, hey, Nick, what is this? What do you mean Ndani and Ndani? I told him, Bishop, Ndani ya Yesu. Ndani, Ndani, Ndani ya Yesu. He said, I'm satisfied with it. That's enough for me. Yeah.